Dissident Republicans are getting bolder.
Men got out of the car, 7 men. They got out, they walked up the street here. They were masked, they had machine guns.
While Stormont wrestles over a devolution deal, policing progress and lives are increasingly at risk.
The threats are severe, which means that an attack is very likely.
Tonight on Spotlight, policing and the threat from Republican dissidents.
These people, they are traitors to the island of Ireland.
They're small and fractured groups, often dismissed as relics of the past. But dissident
The threat is real. It would be wrong of me not to say that.
The tactics are old and familiar, and Republican opponents of Stormont are also taking the fight into the political arena. But as the dissidents gain momentum, a deal to decide the future of policing sits on the table. Right now, the DUP, Sinn Féin and Gordon Brown are trying to close down an agreement that would bring policing powers to Stormont. While we wait the outcome, we've travelled all over Northern Ireland, talking to police officers and members of the public. We've listened to their fears that the PSNI's community policing strategy is failing to tackle the dissident threat. The latest example of the dissident's deadly intent. A policeman's partner narrowly escaped a booby-trap bombing. For PSNI officers we've spoken to, that attack confirmed their fears about a growing threat. None of them feels free to talk openly, so their words are being spoken by actors. They say they're speaking out because of concerns for their safety, on and off the job.
There is a lot of pressure, especially for the family. They see me going out every morning and looking under the car. I started to tell them that I was looking to see if there were no cats under it. They've caught on. Now they ask me, "Daddy, are you looking for a bomb?"
Some say the dissident campaign can't be divorced from what's going on politically.
Policing is such a huge issue because Sinn Féin had hoped that by now they would be in charge of policing and justice, or at least it would have been devolved. And the dissidents are desperate to ensure that that will not happen. They would love to see the army back in the streets. They would love to see no devolved justice in policing.
Police believe this latest attack was a sign that dissidents are getting more confident enough to strike in places like East Belfast where they have no obvious support. PSNI officers are feeling exposed to attack. We've read some of the scores of emails they've sent to the Police Federation expressing discontent and anger. We've also talked to a dozen frontline officers. They question the police's ability to combat the dissidents, and they say it's their lives that are on the line.
Well, the threat seems to be getting higher and higher, and colleagues and myself have been saying that somebody's going to die. It's a frightening experience.
I do believe it's only a matter of time before somebody gets killed or seriously injured. I'm a frontline police officer. It could be me.
Since the dissidents killed 2 soldiers and a policeman in March, the PSNI say there have been 11 more attempts to kill police officers by bombs and bullets. Over the last 12 months, the bombs have been getting bigger and more sophisticated. September 2008, Jonesborough, a £100 bomb. January, Castlewellan, a £300 bomb. And in September at Forkhill, a £600 bomb. The dissident groups now have around 300 hardcore active terrorists, and it's clear that the threat is growing. Mike, just a few miles from the border. This is a testing area for the future of policing. If the PSNI can patrol normally here in South Armagh, it can patrol anywhere. It was on a Friday evening in August that this normally quiet village witnessed an event that would raise serious questions about the security situation in Northern Ireland. It was in Mike that dissident Republican terrorists made a very public statement that has had ramifications for policing. A heavily armed Rail IRA gang set up a checkpoint. We understand one of the gang was a woman. They stopped motorists and handed out leaflets, which warned that anyone passing information to the police would be dealt with. Derek Johnson runs a pub in the village and saw it all on his security cameras.
Not like something you see on television, like one man standing behind the other sort of thing. No, it was pretty casual, walked up and gave out their leaflets. It was pretty casual. It didn't seem to be done like military or aggressively or whatever. From what I believe, they didn't even speak to anybody that they handed leaflets out. They basically just handed the leaflets out, walked back towards their vehicle and disappeared.
The terrorists didn't know there were 4 police cars just outside Mike. One unmarked car came into the village. Its driver was waved forwards by a masked figure. Officers spotted just 2 of the 7 armed dissidents, but that was enough for them to reverse and retreat. Tell me, the police obviously came across the incident. Just how far from these crossroads were the police?
Probably about 500 yards. They reversed their car back into an entrance and they disappeared.
Do you think they saw the police?
No, they definitely didn't see the police because they seemed very, very calm. There was no aggression at all. They just they weren't crouched down. They weren't in a position where they were going to shoot or anything like that. It was done very calmly.
The then police chief, Sir Hugh Ord, played down the incident as a publicity stunt.
This is a fundamentally different threat to the one posed by the provisional IRA, so we need to get the perspectives right here. You know, individual little shows of strength in areas a couple of minutes from the border where you can run in and run out again are not going to change the strategic direction of Northern Ireland.
But this was 7 armed terrorists patrolling a street carrying rifles and a rocket-propelled grenade launcher. Officers in South Armagh have told us they were deeply angered by Sir Hugh Ord's reaction to the event. They also claim their colleagues at Mike had no immediate specialist armed backup available.
But whenever I look back at Mike and talk to colleagues, we're at a loss of where our backup would have come from. You asked me where our backup would have come from. There was no backup. It wasn't there.
Police resources that night, including a police helicopter, had been directed to a band parade in North Antrim. ACC Drew Harris denies there was no backup. He says the helicopter was flown from North Antrim within 20 minutes.
We don't have the resources that the military brought to bear during the full terrorism campaign, and those resources are now gone. We have to manage the situation we have with the resources to our disposal. But we're a strong organisation and we are well resourced in terms of countering this threat.
Officers speaking to us in South Armagh have not felt well equipped in training or numbers. The PSNI claims it can cope, but argues it is unfair to expect it to be able to meet every threat.
The officers at Mike were community police patrol. There was 8 officers out in patrol, so it wasn't in effect a week patrol. And it was entirely inappropriate for them to challenge an armed group of individuals and in fact start a gun battle in the middle of a rural village on a Friday evening. We can't be everywhere in sufficient numbers that we're going to be taking on an armed gang.